Hello and welcome back. So in the previous chapter, we brought the verse, which is the motto of this book, that says, if this thing, Judaism, is very near to you, in your heart. And we explained that all it takes is a feeling in the thoughts, and once you think a little bit about God, that'll allow you to act upon that intellectual feeling in action. Now we're going to delve into this verse. Perek Yudchet, chapter 18. To explain very well, the word, very much. In the verse, this thing is very near to you. It says very near. It's not just near to us to do Judaism. It's very near. Based on what we explained in the last chapter, it works out well to say that by using your intellectual faculties and thinking a little bit about God, it's near to you to do Judaism. But what's the emphasis very? It's very near to us. So to explain this, we have to know very well, even somebody who has a short thought, a short knowledge in the knowledge of God, whether that's an intellectual deficiency, or even somebody who's intellectually brilliant and is well versed in many intellectual subjects, the matter of God and in Torah is not known to him. And more so, that's intellectually, emotionally in his heart. The heart doesn't understand, his heart doesn't understand the greatness of God. He doesn't get emotionally excited about God. The holid mimena to bring forth from the emotional understanding a love and fear. Even if it's just intellectual feelings. So that means that even what we learned last chapter, that someone can bring intellectual feelings by thinking a little bit about the greatness of God, even this person can't do. That's how little his ability to have emotions about God is. Nevertheless, it is very near to him. It's not just near to him, it's very near to him, the thing to what? To guard and do all the mitzvot of the Torah, and the study of Torah is equal to all of them. Meaning that every mitzvah can be done at different times. But then there's times when one's not doing any mitzvahs. But even at those times when he's empty of mitzvahs, there's a mitzvah to study Torah. And this is all very capable by any Jew. Befiv u'belevavo mamash, in his mouth, and more than that, in his heart, emotionally, literally, me'umka deliba, from the depths of his heart, he really means it, be'emet la'amito, with a true truthfulness, betchilu v'rechimu, with love and fear, shehi ahava mesutechet shebelev kalot Yisrael. What is this key? What is the code that we're cracking at? That is the hidden love in the heart of the populace of the Jewish people. Every Jew, deep inside, has a hidden love for God. We're going to expound on this. Shehi Yerushalanu Mavotenu. This love that is hidden deep inside is an inheritance from our forefathers. רק שצריך להקדים ולברך תחילה באאיך היטב. שורש אהבה זו ועניינה ואיך ירושלנו. ואיך נכלל בה גם דחילו. We just have to explain well the source of this love, its idea, how it is an inheritance for us, and how in this love there's included a feeling of fear, because really love and fear are opposite feelings. Love is wanting to come close to something, whereas fear is wanting to stay away from it. So the question here it really is, but while having a love of God, how can you have at the same time also a fear of wanting to stay sort of seemingly distant from Him? And we'll actually answer this question at the end of chapter 19. So jumping into it, the forefathers are the chariot. That's a quote from the Medrash. So the idea that the forefathers are a chariot, talking about Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, they were a chariot for God. That means that they were completely nullified to God and to His will. And that is, you can have many qualities in a person. You can have someone that's a genius, a Torah scholar. You can have someone that's even a prophet, the greatest of the great. But nevertheless, that is the characteristics of the person as an individual. What a chariot means, when someone becomes a chariot, that means that they've gone out of their individualism. Or not necessarily, it doesn't mean that they don't have a uniqueness, but it means that they have lost the feeling of being a person for themselves, and they are just a vehicle for God above. Just like a chariot is a vehicle for its rider. It does whatever the rider makes it do. Whereas, like, for instance, a horse is not as much of a vehicle. A horse has desires of its own and has a personality of its own, whereas a chariot doesn't. Chariot is completely a vehicle for God. So too, the forefathers were a vehicle entirely for God Almighty, and they didn't have any desires of their own or any personalities of their own. They were just vehicles of Him. And therefore, for that merit, they brought about children into this world, and to the end of the generations, to the end of the world, their children and children's children, and so on, to have a similar quality. It says over here, the nefesh, ruach, neshama, which are the three levels of the soul, which come from, we're going to describe what the souls of the Jewish people, the descendants of the forefathers, are like. That come from the 10 levels, the 10 sfirot of holiness of the four worlds, which there are four worlds, Atzil, Bria, Tzia, meaning that there are in holiness different levels. In short, there are different levels in holiness. In general, the widest differences are four worlds in the realm of holiness, and each of those four worlds is divided into 10 levels. So this is all part of godliness. It's all part of holiness. And the souls of the Jewish people each belonged to this realm. The kol echad ve'echad k'fi madregato k'fi ma'asav. To every single one, every single Jew, based on their level and based on their actions, is the ranking of the level of their soul. Ve'al kol panim afilu l'kal shebekalim upo she'yisrael. And at the very least, even the lightest of the light, and the sinners of Israel, the lightest of the light means those that have low souls, that have the lowest of lowest souls. And sinners of Israel can be people that have really high souls, but they just became sinners. On the contrary, sometimes it happens to be that those that have the highest souls end up falling into the lowest sins because they have difficulties with the desires of their heart and so on, but I'm not going to go into that now. So even those kind of people, nimshach b'zivugam nefesh to malchut asiyah, is brought into their creation of their soul, the level of nefesh, which is part of the higher category of nefesh, the higher category of malchus, of the higher category of asiya. In short, we said that there's 4 worlds. The lowest world is asiya. The lowest of the 10 levels of that world is malchus. And then that is also divided into 3. The lowest of those 3 is nefesh. And then nefesh itself is divided into also 3, and the lowest of that is also nefesh. So this is like the lowest possible soul that can be. It is only of such a low level in godliness. It's the lowest level of godliness, this soul. That is the lowest level of the holiness of the world of Asiya. So that's the lowest level of holiness. Now, nevertheless, since it is from the 10 holy levels, the 10 holy sfirot levels, it is included from all of them, meaning it is a continuation. It might be on the lowest level, but the lowest level is a continuation of the highest level. One level leads to the next level, which leads to the next level. It's a development. Gam mechokma da'asiya, שבתוך המדובשת חוכמה דמלכות דאצילות, שבתוך החוכמה דאצילות, שבה מאיר אור אינסוף ברוך הוא ממש. Also, in the lowest level, it is a continuation, and therefore in it is found, even though it might be very dimmed down, but there's still inside of it the highest of the 10 of the lowest world, which is Chachma V'Asiya. And in that level, there's also, again, because it's a continuation, it found, even though it might be dimmed down, but it's still there, the level of the highest level, which is Chachma, of the lowest level, which is Malchus, of the highest world, which is Atzilus. Okay, we're working our way up, which inside of that is the highest level of the highest world, which is Chachma of Atzilus, which is the first level of holiness. Chachma of Atzilut, that is the highest level of holiness. Now, what is found in the highest level of holiness? The shining of the Infinite One, the light of the Infinite One, literally. Blessed be He, literally. So, in other words, I know that was complicated. The idea is that holiness is dimmed down, and that's basically the chain of holiness. It starts with a very bright level. The highest level, again, Chachma, we'll call it. In there is shining God. And then that gets dimmed down and dimmed down and dimmed down to the lowest level. But the lowest level is a continuation of the highest level. So really, God is found in all those levels. And therefore, God is even found in the soul of the lowest level of holiness. Kedichtiv, as it says in the verse, Havaya b'chochma yisad haaretz, God with Chachma, the highest level, founded the earth. That means that through Chachma is the highest level, came a continuation of the earth afterward, which is the lower levels. V'kulan b'chochma asita, and another verse is, all are made with Chachma, because that is the highest level. Okay, v'nimtza. So what do we see from there? Ki ein sof baruch hu melubash b'bchinat chochma shebenefesh ha'adam. Yihi yamisha yihi yamischayil. The light of the Infinite One, blessed be He, is vested in the level of Chachma, the highest level in the soul of the person, whoever it may be. So, again, in the soul of a Jew, there is the highest level, which is Chachma, and in there is shining God. It doesn't matter who it is, Miyischal, from the Jewish people. עמו אין סוף ברוך הוא המלובש בה, מתפשט בכל בחינת הנפש כולה, להחיות אותה מבחינת ראש עד בחינת רגלה. And this highest level in the soul, chachma, together with what's shining inside of it, a ray of the light of the infinite one, blessed be he, it comes out and it develops into, and it extends into the entire soul to give it life from the head of the soul until the foot of the soul. It means all levels of the soul of every Jew are infused with godliness from the purest form of God himself. As it says, the level of Chachma, the highest level, gives life to its spouse. Meaning the level of Chachma gives life to the rest of the soul. And he brings in parentheses the Tanya, that there are times when even the sinners of Israel, which will bring down high souls that are very high, that were sitting in the depths of Klipa, which we mentioned in the past, is the level that conceals godliness, as it said to their children. No, to themselves. Like, as it says in the book called the Book of Gilgulim, meaning that there are times when, most times, parents bring about souls to the children on their level. So if you have parents which are on a lower level of a soul, then they're usually, typically, most times bring about children with souls of the same quality level. But there are times, unique times, when lowly parents, even if they didn't have a good intention, and even if they didn't think about holy things or so on and so forth, will bring in a child with a very high soul. So now, what is this level of Chachma? Let's give a little definition. It's the source of intellect and understanding. And it is above the level of Bina, that's the level number 2. Which, what is level Bina? That is the understanding of the intellect and its understanding. Lesagato. And the Chachma, the level above it, is above understanding and thinking and explanation, I suppose, and it is the source of it. So the Chachma is not our thoughts. So the thoughts that we know of are processing of one thought over another and another thought and so on. That is not the Chachma. That is the level of Bina. Our thoughts are not Chachma, our thoughts are Bina. What is Chachma then? Chachma is, where did that come from? It's the level, the stage before that. It's the stage where the thought is not yet grasped. It's the source of the thought. That's the if you break down grammatically, the word Chachma is composed of the words koach ma. Koach means the potential of ma. Ma means what? Because before a thought actually comes in to process, there needs to first be the question of what is going on over here. What is this? So Chachma is the higher, the level which is before the thought. And it is what is not yet understood and thought about. And it does not yet come into the processing of the thought. And now, because it itself is something that does not hold on to anything, it is not limited to a thought. Instead, it is open to something that is abstract from thinking. Therefore, can be shining and brought inside of it the light of the blessed be the infinite one, blessed be he, God, that no thought can grasp him at all. That is because Chachma isn't the level of thought. It can withstand. It can have a investment of God, which is above thought. Chachma is above thought. God is above thought. So God can come into Chachma. Now, with this introduction, we can understand the fact that all the Jewish people, even women and simple people, which don't know a lot, people that don't necessarily have a broad understanding and study of Torah and godly concepts, and they don't think intellectually about God. Believe in God. The ones that don't have great intellects still believe in God. And that is explained as follows. Because faith, belief in God, emunah, is above understanding and knowledge. Because a fool will believe anything, and one that is naked from anything will understand. Meaning, a fool can understand, a fool can believe something that he can't understand. That is not teaching us about a fool, it is teaching us about the greatness of belief. When we have a great belief in something, that we don't necessarily have to understand it. Belief reaches a place that's above understanding. Emunah, belief, can reach a place that understanding can't reach. And next to God, which is, like we said just earlier, above understanding and knowledge, and no thought grasps him at all, all are fools next to him. So being that the idea of God is above our understanding. So we are all like fools in the sense that we can believe in him as a fool believes in something that it doesn't understand. So to something that is above understanding, God is above the reality of thoughts. The reality of thoughts is below God. He's just above any understanding. It's a different dimension. There's thoughts, and then God is way above that. But so without our thoughts, that's impossible. But with our faith, we can reach a place that our thoughts can't reach. Kedichtiv, as it says, I'm a fool and an ignoramus. I was an animal with you, and I am always with you. That is a verse from Psalms. Kelomar, what is the explanation of this verse? The very fact that I'm like a fool and I'm like an animal that doesn't have knowledge. Because again, compared to God, no knowledge can grasp him, he's above it. I'm committed to him from which place? From the place of my emunah, from the place of my faith. And therefore, even the lighter souls, the lightest of the light souls, and the sinners of Israel will give up their souls, will give up their lives on the sanctification of God's name. Al harov, by most cases, and they'll withstand very severe sufferings, not to deny the one God. And even if they are ignoramuses and simple people that don't know the greatness of a God at all. The greatness of the faith within the Jewish people is not that somebody that is a holy Jew, a big Torah scholar, a big believer, someone that's very knowledgeable, and someone that's very committed to his Judaism can get to a point where he can sacrifice his life for God. Even though that's also a high thing, that's also an impressive thing. But the point over here is that even somebody that doesn't know anything about Judaism, that's a sinner. He's a thief, and he's whatever negative thing that you can think of. He will be ready to give up his life for God because of that belief that he has inside. Equally, all Jews have this belief. And there's a story told of this old town in, I think the town was named Shpoli, where there was a tombstone in a graveyard, tombstone of a guy named the Holy Thief. So the question was asked, if he's a thief, how can he be holy? So the answer was that the story was that this man made his living by stealing. And one day he was caught by the officials. And in the specific place where he lived, the punishment for stealing was the death penalty. And when they brought him to court, they told him, or you'll be burnt alive, or we'll give you an option to convert to the other religion, and you'll be spared. And even for the crime of stealing, we'll also spare you from. And he said, "There's no way that I'm going to deny God, deny my Judaism, and I'll be burnt alive if at the cost." And they brought him to be burnt at the stake. And as they started burning him, they told him again, "You have one last chance now, or you can continue to be burnt to your death, or you can convert at the last minute and you'll be saved." And he said, I'd rather be burnt and I'd rather suffer everything, but I'm not going to deny God. A thief. And that is why he was called the Holy Thief. So every Jew, even against their will, it's so to speak something that just comes up. It's like a mode of thought. It's something that goes against all natural instincts. Literally giving up their life for this belief in God. And even the small minority of those that do know about God don't think about it at all. And when they give up their lives, they're not doing it because of their thinking and their contemplation about Hashem at all. Instead, they're doing it because of this belief deep inside, which cannot deny God. And he says over here, rather, it's something without any thought and consideration. Instead, it is like something that he cannot do, that is impossible at all to deny God, the one God, without any understanding or reason or claim or answer at all. So why is this? Why do we see this phenomenon? That the one God shines and gives life to the entire soul. Through it coming into the first level of Chachma, Sheba, in the soul, which is above thought and understanding, the intellect that is thought and understood. And as we'll see further in the next chapter, that the Tanya is going to teach us not only that every Jew can die on the sanctification of God's name because of this belief, but how we can actually live on a day-to-day basis because of this belief that we have deep inside. And see more about this next chapter and in chapter 33 coming up.